Hi, my name is Carrie Wade, and I'm the Senior Manager of Global Scientific Engagement at Philip Morris. This talk today is really about the evidence around newer tobacco products and how our understanding, or misunderstanding rather, of the evidence around the tobacco products and the scientific body around them can affect public health either for the better or the worse. And a proper understanding of what what research is out there and what the science says about these products can benefit public health if it's accurate, because it can inform us on the risks and the benefits of these products. Unfortunately, there's no lack of research out there or reviews out there that might add to the confusion around these products, and that really does negatively affect public health. So a recent paper, this is in my way. A recent paper that was published in June suggested that IQOS emissions could be considered smoke, and that PMI and the publications that PMI has had out there about the HPHC levels are underestimated. There's three main issues with this review. The first is that they have misrepresented the some of the cited references in their review. They rely on studies that use non-standard methodology, and that they have suggested inappropriate conversions to estimate the levels of harmful and potentially harmful constituents that are found in our emissions. So just to level set, heated tobacco products, which you've heard about a few times today, are products that contain tobacco and are designed to be heated and not combusted to produce a nicotine-containing aerosol, which is distinct from smoke. We don't need to go over the fundamentals of combustion here, but combustion is, or the absence of combustion rather, is the fundamental basis for our product. So in the absence of combustion, smoke is not produced, and the absence of smoke is really where you see the benefits of this product, because it doesn't contain the 6,000 chemicals that are found in smoke, and it greatly reduces the amount of harmful or potentially harmful constituents that are found in smoke, which are about 100 in combusted cigarette smoke. And we know that smoke contains solid particles and liquid droplets that are formed as a result of combustion. However, this review by Aguna and Snape have misrepresented some of the cited references. They have referred to a paper by Ruprecht et al. That was written a few years back that showed that black carbon is detected in the 370 UV range in the IQOS emissions in concentrations that are lower than cigarette smoke. They go on to say that black carbon is a generic term covering all solid carbonaceous material, and that this is also found in wood smoke, biomass burning smoke, and tobacco smoke. So it really does make the link between the black carbon that's detected at 370 in the 370 ultraviolet range with smoke, which is known to contain carbon-based solid particles. The actual paper that was referred to did in fact detect black carbon at the 370 ultraviolet range, about 1% that is found in cigarette smoke. Did not see a detection, or did not find a detection of black carbon at the 880 UV range. They concluded that while the standard black carbon that is measured at the 880 range represents elemental carbon, which is soot, which is carbon-based solid particles, the light absorption at the shorter wavelengths, which is 370 ultraviolet wavelength, produces insights on possible organic compounds, which is distinct from the carbon-based solid particles. In fact, our own studies show that, I hope this image is better on the screen than it is on here, but when we do electron microscopy images of our aerosol compared to cigarette smoke, in the cigarette smoke you do see carbon-based nanoparticles. In the THS aerosol, which is the IQOS aerosol, you see an absence of that carbon-based solid particles. And that aerosol looks a lot more like air than it does like cigarette smoke. So this really does confirm the absence of combustion. Second, they have a reliance on studies that use non-standard methodology. So one of the papers that they rely on to make their arguments that we have underestimated our HPHCs is conducted by Error et al. And this study used a non-standard puffing regime, which was between an ISO method and a HCI method. So it really makes it hard to compare their numbers to values that have from papers that use other puffing regimes. They have reported HPHC values in cigarette smokes that is orders of magnitude lower than those that are publicly available, suggesting that their own methodology might be an outlier. And that when they actually did an analysis comparing IQOS emissions compared to cigarette smoke, they did not analyze the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons generated by cigarettes directly. They presented the means that were reported in a separate paper. This would not be a non-standard methodology for anybody who conducts these studies. They would know that. In fact, the US FDA, in the review of our of PMI's MRTP application, suggested or declared that the analytical issues that were identified in this study made it difficult for them to use this study in their substantive review. Finally, this paper suggests that PMI uses inappropriate estimates to calculate harmful and potentially harmful constituents. They state that PMI has underestimated these HPHCs and suggested that the calculations, rather than be based on a one-to-one comparison, should be based on tobacco weight versus per stick. But we do know that the amount of tobacco in an IQOS heat stick is much lower than the amount of tobacco that is in a conventional cigarette, about 3 times less. But when you look at product use data, you can see that people who switch completely from cigarettes to IQOS do use a similar number of sticks per day, suggesting that a one-to-one comparison is appropriate. And in fact, when we do have a one-to-one comparison and we compare the HPHCs that are present in the smoke of a cigarette versus the HPHC that are present in IQOS aerosol, we see about a 91 to 95% reduction depending on which list of HPHCs you're looking at. This has been supported by external reviews, particularly here looking at the German Federal Institute for Risk Assessment. When they did their evaluation of emissions in our product, they saw between an 80 and 98% reduction in HPHCs, depending on which HPHC you were looking at. So why does this matter? I mean, you know, I can get up here and cite a bunch of studies from many companies or from many independent studies that kind of have similar misrepresentations. But it's important because scientific studies are used by a variety of stakeholders, including regulators, public health experts, policymakers, scientists, healthcare professionals, and the general public. And all of this information is used to make health decisions. So people, if they don't have the best information, they're not making the best health decisions. This paper that the review that I just went over was picked up in the media, and 3 main points were taken away from the media. First is that IQOS emissions contain chemical compounds that are in smoke, bush burning, in tobacco smoke, in bush burning, and in wood smoke. So comparing, again, IQOS aerosol to smoke. They also picked up that the paper had found that previous research had compared a heat stick to a cigarette, which would be inappropriate in their reporting of this. They have also picked up that PMI has underestimated the levels of HPHCs in IQOS. And these are some of the outlets that have reported that. Why is this important? Well, I recently have been talking to people and asking them where they get their health information from. And people do mention they get their health information from the media. And they might go back to the original publication to see if the media makes sense, but they're picking up that information primarily from the media in the first place, and that's how they're getting their understanding of these products. We also know that this lasts. What happens in the media lasts for a long time. The original paper that I mentioned, Ayer et al., was first published in 2017, but as recently as February 3rd, 2022, it was mentioned again in a Zurich newspaper, once again suggesting that IQOS aerosol is a smoke and therefore linking it to cigarettes. I wish I had a nice conclusion for how we can address these issues, but I do believe that as the body of literature grows around these products, we will have less confusion around the public health benefits of these products for smokers who might otherwise continue to smoke. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wade.